So developmental trauma basically is what happens between 0 and 6 years old. Developmental trauma, there's shock trauma. Shock trauma can be a car accident, surgery. You get a call with really bad news. I don't even want to list them too many because people get triggered when I list their traumatic experience. Their nervous system gets triggered. So we want to
be careful with that. Yeah.
Be careful with that, given the container we have in the show we are doing.
Yeah.
But you all understand what a shock is, right? And developmental trauma is stuff that happens in early childhood. So it also determines our attachment styles. I see that you are also doing shows on attachment and attachment styles, which is important. And developmental trauma is entirely different to treat than shock trauma. Shock trauma is relatively easy to treat because it's a single event. Normally it's a single event. Maybe it has happened twice or 3 times, but developmental trauma often is repetitive. There's a caregiver that is the majority of all times unresponsive, right? Or there's a parent that is often violent, right? So that is, and now I'm using but it can be little, a parent stops talking with the child.
That can be developmental trauma?
Absolutely, because love is conditional, and I, as a child, don't understand, well, what just happened?
Yeah, what did I do? What just happened? What's going on?
Exactly.
Withholding affection, withholding communication.
Exactly.
Per se, silent treatment, stuff like that.
Exactly. And then something simple like the baby cries.
Okay.
And as it was normal back in the days, you just let the baby cry, it will fall asleep anyways sooner or later. Yeah. But that is a traumatic experience for the child because in the brain of the child, I am dependent, child, baby, toddler, on the caregiver, on the love, on the affection, on the care of the caregiver. And if I don't receive it, I will die. And that is a reality. Of course, the baby doesn't die within 5 minutes, but babies don't have a sense of time. For them, 5 minutes and a day and an hour, subjectively, they don't have developed brains in that way to make that distinction. So, yeah. And then I like that quote of, I think it's Bessel van der Kolk, who said, trauma comes back as a reaction, not as a memory.
Okay, man, you are too much. Time out. Anybody
That's not my quote.
Show, I always got to do my time out.
It's time for a timeout.
I haven't even had coffee yet. I was like,
what happened?
Say that again. My daughter asked me, and that's a whole nother story. So say that, please, one more time again. The quote was what?
The quote was, trauma comes back as a reaction, not as a memory.
Wow.
And it's a quote by Bessel van der Kolk. I recommend his books and videos, and you can find him everywhere. He's one of the gods of trauma research. And that's especially true for developmental trauma. And I think that's especially important for all who deal with narcissistic people in their life. Because you just said it. I mean, you said silent treatment, you said withholding affection, you said withholding communication when we spoke about the child. And that's exactly what we are dealing with in a narcissistic relationship.
Yeah, that is true.
So there's some repetition happening because
a learned behavior then of a lack of affection as being the language to communicate. I mean, they're learning that this is normal then. If I just sat and cried, and then they went from just crying as a baby to literally being treated that way as a toddler, or maybe even as a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, that they were shut down emotionally.
If I learn as a baby, as a toddler, as a child, that love is conditional.
Yeah.
if I learn that if you do, then you will,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
just standard. I mean,
No, that's true. That's true.
that's almost every parent does that. If I learn that mom can break up a communication in a second and I have no idea why it happened and I have no idea how long it will last, if I learn that, then that is my normal, because I don't have a different normal, because that's who I'm growing up with. And that's my normal. So I will look for a relationship that fits that normal.
Wow.
But then I'm in a toxic relationship later as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Because someone who's like super open, super caring, super friendly, super fair, we go like, what's wrong with you? It doesn't fit into what I have learned as being love.
The perceived world that I've existed in, this is the world I live in. Who are you to have these great gifts and be happy and cheerful, and everybody likes you and you communicate? So you're saying that person looks at it and goes, well, do they deliberately then try to start a relationship and then pass their trauma on to that person?
Can you repeat that in a different way? I'm
If
not
they
sure if I got it.
if you're a happy-go-lucky person and you're happy, you're minding your own business, and I come from a background, a developmental trauma in which I don't communicate, I don't open myself up to you, and we start a relationship. Do I try my best to inject you with my trauma and my toxic behavior because that's all I know?
I doubt in the first place that we would start a relationship.
Well, we would hope you would run. We hope
Because
that you
our
would.
attachment styles quite likely wouldn't fit. We wouldn't look for each other. We wouldn't match with each other.
I would have to then put on a mask to disguise myself to look like someone you would want to be with.
If someone is truly centered and truly happy and has, if we now go more into attachment, that a secure attachment style, that person would not necessarily feel attracted to an anxious or avoidant attachment style.
Got it.
Right? That's why it's all interwoven. Everything that you also offer on Narcabuse TV network, it's all interwoven. And we need to, if we want to grow out of that normal love that we think experienced as normal because that was our background, if we want to grow out of that, because being 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and there's many people who come to me and say, I've been in a narcissistic relationship for 20, 30 years.
That's my
I'm
show.
60 years old, and I'm only waking up to the fact that it's a narcissist. But if we want to grow out of that, we need to go back, or not back, we need to go inside.
Okay.
And we need to heal what has been wounded in those early years, so that we start to understand what I thought was normal is not normal. And then if that's not normal, that someone withholds affection, if someone stops communicating, if someone manipulates me, so then what the F is normal? And how do I do that? And how do I trust? And
how do I find people? How do I find people like that when I start to make this growth that I can be with? Because I got to leave what's not normal. Now you're saying that not normal, it could be because of the developmental trauma.
Absolutely.
The lifestyle that came from the caregivers that raised an individual, or we could say parents, or like you said at the beginning, it could have been anybody.
And that is like that's like an awakening. And that's where, in my eyes, that's where the real journey starts, because it's an awakening to understand what I thought was normal is the blueprint that I have received, but there's other ways, more healthy ways, more fulfilling ways to relate with each other out there. And how do I learn them? That's like a whole awakening of the matrix I'm living in, really.
That's work. That
yeah.
But
That is work.
but you said from the inside though. I like the way you said it a little bit earlier. You said that's from the inside. So
That's
this is
from the
not,
inside.
we're looking for something to attach to from the outside and attach it to us, and now we're going to be better. You're literally talking about doing some emotional excavation and some digging to find out what makes me tick. What did I get from someone else that is really not me or healthy for me?
Yeah.
I need to put something back on the screen. I know I only have you for a little bit today. Normally, we would go 16, 17 hours. I think we would do shows. No, I'm
Well,
just kidding.
more or
No,
less.
I'm just, people go like, bring her back, bring Julia back. Okay, so here we go. I'm
Here
gonna
we
put
go.
something back up here. I'm
Let's
going to ask
see.
you about. I'm going to skip around here. We're not going to go in order. I want to ask you about trauma after narcissistic abuse. Could you touch on that a little bit for the audience?
Yeah, let's just see from which angle I can address that. Because there obviously, as we just said, I have experienced trauma, developmental trauma before, that made me vulnerable to end up in a relationship like that. In most of all cases, it's like that. I mean, everyone that I spoke to up until now, that's what we could detect. Okay? Yeah. So that's what we just spoke about. And being the target of narcissistic abuse, which is manipulation, which is gaslighting, which is coercive control, which is lies, which is, I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
Does something, is in itself traumatic, because while you're in the relationship, I'm going to say, think you love that person. You think you can trust that person you're with. Now I'm talking about an intimate relationship, but the narcissist can be your boss, be your parent, can be your kid. I'm talking about an intimate relationship now. And then slowly, you wake up to the fact that that person you're with actually never saw you for who you are. That person you're with actually lied to you, like often big time. That person you are with cheated on you, gaslighted you, manipulated your reality. And what happens that it over time, and I think that is something that only people can really understand who have experienced it, because it's so hard to grasp for people who haven't really, I mean, worked with narcissism. It's so slow and it's so repetitive and it's so constant. It's 24/7 that it crumbles. It wreaks havoc on your sense of identity, on your sense of sanity. And I bet you hear that often, that people go like,
all the time.
I think I need to go to mental hospital.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with me. But that's what happens.
A perfectly normal, insane person will begin to say, there's something wrong with me, and I got to go seek some help. They're depressed. They're not eating right. They have, the term is, brain fog. They can't think straight. And you're saying it's all because dealing with someone like that, narcissistic abuse, you say it wreaks havoc? Is that what you said?
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, even famous therapists who are specialized on narcissism, they say they need to consciously take distance from that narcissistic person. They need to consciously, like, really step back, and they need to make a conscious effort to go like, okay, that's that person's disorder. That's where mental distinctions come in, because it's like a lasso. It catches you, like, and you are in that circle, in that manipulation game.
I say mess. You're in that mess. That's what I call it. It's a mess. Okay.
And it's only hours or days later that you wake up and you go like, what? because it's so subtle, it's so sneaky, it's so manipulative, and sometimes it's like, there's people who go like, it's Christmas today, and they go like, it's Christmas today, and they will repeat it like 10 times, and you go like, okay, I know that much, it's not Christmas today. But sometimes it's very obvious, but very often it's very, 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 very subtle. And because it's so subtle, it distorts our sense of self, it distorts our sense of identity, it really breaks it down, which is so traumatic. And I'm sorry to say that, but I'm going to put it out there straight away. It's a lot of work to put yourself back together.
Okay, let's touch on that for a minute, because we got right to it. This is exactly what I really wanted you on the show to get to this point where we are right now. A lot of work. A number of people are going to feel it's just overwhelming. The life they thought was a lie. The person they with was the instigator in almost the embodiment, the instigator of all the lies. But they are claiming now the instigator, the one who started it, they're saying that they're the innocent person. And the person that is the victim is now being blamed as being the crazy person.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work to undo all of that, from what I'm hearing. What do you say?
I'm going to break the news right away, because I'm not into pink.
Wait, hold on.
colored.
Let me get my tissue.
Take a seat,
Jackson. Hold on a second.
Take a seat.
Give me a moment here.
Get a coffee.
I know how you work. You be destroying galaxies and stuff like that. Go ahead. Let me get there so I can get
I'm not into rose. I'm not.
Go ahead. No rose-colored glasses.
No,
I know.
No rose-colored glasses.
Okay, go ahead. Give us the serum we need from Spain. Go ahead. Go on, give it to us. Go ahead. All right, let's see it.
It's not only to digest and understand and to make peace and to grieve what you've been through, and the reality that you thought you lived in, and the reality that you are waking up to. So that's one thing that is a lot of work. And we will get in touch with emotions. I see that with my clients all the time. All of a sudden they are raging and angry, and the next moment they are dead sad, and because it's a lot. It's a big process. It's a big inner work to do when you wake up, like after years or decades, right? And there's a lot of grief, and there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of disappointment and dreams and hopes. Okay?
They're all crumble. They're all dashed.
They all crumble. And you, as you said, you find yourself in a situation where all of a sudden you as the victim need to justify and explain that not you're the crazy one, but the other one. So now you have to become a relationship lawyer for yourself. You have to kind of start defending yourself, because everybody's believing their lies. Exactly. Crazy. And so I'm going to break the news. I think I wrote that the other day in one of my posts. Leaving, if you are, for example, in an intimate relationship, leaving is the first and the most important step. But it's by far not the end.
Not even close.
Only because you left doesn't mean that the abuse stops. And that we tend to not tell people. So I always prefer to see reality as much as I possibly can, so then I can be prepared, and then I'm not surprised by what I thought this was over.
I thought it was over with. I moved on. I moved forward. And
exactly. I went no contact. I moved on. I have whatever, and then this person continues
reappearing.
It's not. There's a whole wheel of post-separation abuse that in most of all cases happens after the separation.
It is something that regularly happens more than not. So a person,
Exactly.
if it doesn't happen to them, then they happen to be one of the
lucky ones.
the few that, no, yeah, okay. But pretty much after no contact, as it's kind of what you're saying right now, we're not talking about anything else. If a person goes no contact, they're away from that person. What did you say? Step back. They step back from it, from that person. That doesn't mean that that person is going to end the abuse. There's a pretty good chance they're going to find other ways
Yes.
To be abusive and
Yes.
stick around.
Yes. And that's a real bummer because, you know, leaving takes all your courage, takes all your strength.
Finances,
lawyers,
and friends,
connections, friends, shelters. I mean, there's women who have like not a dollar on their account. You know, it's some people I'm talking to. It's heartbreaking. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then you finally made it. They finally made it. And they go like, woof, now I can rest.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing, you know, I forgot her name, but it's a pretty famous website. It's One Mom's Battle it's the US.
Yes.
Tina Swiffen, exactly.
Uh-huh. Yes, Tina. Yeah.
And she developed that wheel of post-separation abuse. And there's like a lot on that wheel.
It's pretty intense. I saw it. Yeah, it's pretty intense. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's happening more often than it's not. Yeah. So that's why it's with a narcissist from day one on, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
And making sure to do the inner work so we have a sense of stability is going to help us hold it together the best that we can, because the onslaught may not be as intense because they're not maybe in our intimate circle or in our homes anymore, but they may still prove to be someone that wants to cause trouble for us later on through court, through other things. They just have nothing better to do than cause trouble. I need to put something up here on this posting that we have. This will be the last time to put something up for us there. Let me get back over here and do this. I want to take a look at, you have a statement here that says effects of traumatic experiences. Now, the effects of traumatic experiences, it's a big statement within itself. Yes, the effects can be varied. We talked about some right now. But can the effects of traumatic experiences sabotage any future relationships?
Of course. I mean, trauma is something that needs to be worked through. It's not, we have, I don't know how you say it in English, but it's like time heals all wounds.
Yes, that's an expression.
It's not true. Mm-hmm. It's not true. Trauma, that it's not true because it's not a memory in the brain, it's a memory in the nervous system. So, and I bet that many of the listeners and viewers can recognize in themselves when, after having broken up with a narcissistic partner, then after a while they find a new partner, a partner that might be different and more healthy. Mm-hmm. Trust issues come up. The partner doesn't reply to your WhatsApp within X amount of time, and you go like, oh, he found a new woman, she's whatever. There's, for example, trust issues are big. A sense of not being able of ever possibly letting go of, just letting go, just, many, many, many effects. So that's why we need to, I always tell my clients, we need to work through what happened, and we need to grieve it, and we need to understand, and we need to give it space, and we need to contain it, because it's part of your biography. As much as you don't like it, it's still part of your biography. It's part of who you are. Mm-hmm. It's part of what you went through, in order to then, in baby steps, start to learn to relate in a different way. Because that insecurity, for example, that we learned with the narcissist, because that's one of the narcissist's biggest joy, is to keep you in constant insecurity, that we need to, when you have a healthier partner, you also don't want to bother that partner all the time. Where are you? What are you thinking? What are you doing? Why don't you write?
Right.
Where you now? Because you can see that is not helpful. That is not, some other people don't enjoy much being around a person like that. So we need to start to contain and hold our own insecurity. So there's a lot that we need to unlearn, or that we can unlearn and heal.
You have a masterclass. We've gone 44 minutes here. I'm not going to hold you forever because it is evening there in Spain. But I wanted to touch on your masterclass.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing tomorrow. Please correct me if I get this wrong. The 19th, right?
Yeah. In fact, it's a masterclass that I did some time ago. And I don't know if that's popular in the US, but in Europe, it's super popular to have advent calendars. You have that for kids, that every day before Christmas, they open something, they get a little gift.
I have no idea.
Okay, so it doesn't look like it is.
My children are grown, but I love your postings. I was going to get to that too, but feel free to tell everybody about that before we have to go.
Well, anyway, that's something super popular in Europe. So every day from the 1st of December until Christmas, which is the 24th in Europe, kids can open every day like they get a little present. Yeah. So I did that. I used that idea. I did that on my social media channels, and every day I do a posting, and I hope to bring insight and understanding to people who deal with trauma and narcissism. And as it is the 4th of Advent tomorrow, I'm giving away that masterclass that I recorded some time ago for free. So normally it's like 45 euros, and there's an infographic, so for people to also understand visually what's going on. And I'm giving it away tomorrow for free. And there's a page where you put your email, and then you find it in your inbox.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for mentioning that. We are going to be bringing the show to an end. I've got to put up two things that I want you to touch on, and I am just so happy we met. I was going to save that to the very, very end, but I just got to stick it in there right now. I have learned so much from you. You're an amazing woman with a great deal of insight and information. Even as you have dealt with narcissistic individuals, you have made life easier for a number of people because of your insight.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Oh, you're truly a kind-hearted person and a great mom because you know how to get your daughter to put her in the show. She was a good kid too, a couple of times on Instagram. But I won't go into that right now because I was about to go. What did you do to her? I don't even hear her now. She's like, what?
No, she's not home.
Yeah. Oh, that's why. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put something up here. Hopefully you can see that comfortably. It is from your page, Trauma in a Nutshell. Speaking of the Advent calendar on narcissism is what you have. You also have this: when you think you can't anymore, dig deep. You have some very encouraging words there. This is half of the post. I'll put the other half up in just a moment before we have to go. There are moments when you will think, I can't anymore. I am done. I can't endure what is happening any longer. I give up. This is from your post, the comments of the posting. In those moments, you need to dig deep. Dig deep inside yourself is what you say, until you find that sparkle of wisdom, that little leftover of self-love and dignity, that last residue of trust and courage. Tell us more what you had in mind when you put this on social media for everyone to get encouragement from.
You know, what I know in my own experience and what I hear from people is that there is this moment when you go like, I'm going to give it all up because I can't. I just, there's that moment of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
There's that moment of, everyone, literally everyone I talked to up until now told me that at least once or several times, they found themselves in that place of utter desperation where you go like, okay, whatever it takes, I just can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And when I wrote that, which I think I only wrote it yesterday, I know, again, from myself and from the clients I'm talking with, that desperation is a very, very difficult place to be in and to feel. And then sometimes there's a friend or we read something on social media or whatever, and then we get in touch with that little bit of, okay, no, I can do this. I have the strength. Thing, but it's really meant as a reminder, and it's meant as, I hope that people will feel seen, those who, especially now with the holidays coming up, might find themselves in a rather desperate place, because it's important that we give it voice and that we acknowledge and that we see people who are struggling. Yeah.
Not easy for people to navigate when that pain becomes real. It's hard for them to navigate through that. You have found that even in moments that you've had to navigate, you've needed to maybe pick yourself up also.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, in other words, what I'm leaning toward is a person shouldn't feel worthless if they feel like they can't go on.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. There's absolutely no reason to feel worthless, not at all. It's just, our strength comes to an end. And looking back after a couple of years, when you look back, you only then start to understand what you went through. It takes years to understand. And then you go like, woo, how did I manage to survive that even?
Right.
That is something we can't see in that moment of desperation. But what I really wanted to achieve is that people feel seen and feel heard, who might find themselves in a desperate place, and to encourage them that there is, I'm not going to say hope, because it's not about hope, but there is that inner sparkle that, okay, another day, another morning, and I will make it.
Yeah. And
yeah.
so
Thank you for putting that up.
So many are going through that, and they don't have a big family maybe to rely on, or a group of friends. They may be, as it were, struggling, trudging through a journey of healing with no major support.
Yeah. That's why the support network is so important. And that's where your work comes in, because you offer all these resources for free. And it's amazing, because that's exactly what people need. Just put on one show, hear 1-2 sentences, that makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference for people.
The work that you do, in the time you give of yourself to come on to this community channel that we do, my daughters and I do, and give of your time for free, I truly appreciate it. It has been an amazing year getting to meet you and have you on and do a number of the work that we've done. I'll put this last post up before you have to go and before we end the show. Let me see you pull it up here. Can you see that there comfortably? Oh, I'm sorry. That's the wrong one. Hold on a second here, everybody. Let me get back over here, do this, and do that. And let's, everybody gets to see this in real time, how much fun we're having here.
I don't even know how you manage all the technical stuff. I only tried to go live on Facebook today, and that didn't work.
Well, I hate to
By
tell
the
you
way,
this.
if anyone wants to be my technical assistant, you're more than welcome.
I might have to do some work with you. I had to get you situated there because you got some good content that needs to be out there. Let me see here. Let me pull up a screen here. Let's do this. Here like that. Let's do that. There we go. Can you see that there, my friend? This is the second half of that posting of encouragement that you did about to dig deep. Any points out of there that you like to pass on? I love the word the word you use. You say root yourself. The two words there, but you use the word root yourself in the soul. Feel free to talk about anything that you have there since this posting is fresh in your mind. And I believe it was. I think it was.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah,
It was yesterday. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, another metaphor to say, when it's pitch dark and there's this tiny spot of light, then do whatever you can with the last strength you have to focus on that tiny bit of light rather than on the pitch dark. So that's what I'm trying to say. Root yourself there, make your home there. And from there, you continue to grow. And from there, you take the next step. And the next step might be to drink a cup of coffee. And the next step might be, if you manage, to make a meal.
Yeah.
But if shifting the focus to that tiny bit of where I know deep down, I know I will be all right and I am all right.
Yeah.
Root yourself there, although the rest of your life might be a total mess and a total chaos in that moment.
Mm-hmm. And don't feel overwhelmed. Feel that you're weak. Don't feel like you're not enough just because you didn't get the grocery shopping done. You didn't do this. Where you can receive a measure, a teaspoon worth of help, you may find it comfortable to take it, and find some way to journal, a number of other things. But you are not alone. This is happening to so many people.
And that's the beauty of that work also, that we get to understand how many people are struggling out there, really. I mean, And
only the narcissists are upset that we're having these discussions. But that's too bad. People need to know.
Bad.
You were going to say, I didn't mean to step on you there in your words. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, because I said there's a link and people can see the link here, traumainanutshell.com, free masterclass on narcissism, or check out my social media accounts. You can find me on Trauma in a Nutshell. And feel free to get that masterclass if you want to.
56 minutes in. This is one of the shortest shows I think we've ever done.
And it hasn't broken up.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. That is absolutely true. It totally did not even think about that. We've got some internal stories. Yeah, we could say about us trying to go live. Listen, thank you so much for doing this, for starting this day off of 4 shows that we are doing. I wanted to talk about trauma first. And I wanted to reach out to you and thank you for saying yes. And for the other shows that we've done, I haven't put all of them up here on YouTube yet. But this is the place if you want to see a slice of what Julia talks about. You'll see that here. You'll get more information from her if you go to her Instagram page, as well as talk with her about her masterclass. It's free.
Go
free,
to my
right?
Instagram.
Right?
It's free. It's free. Yeah. Go to my Instagram, go to my Facebook, go to my website. You'll find me there. Feel free to message me. And thank you, Paxton, for offering that platform. I don't think you're really aware of how much you are helping people. So I'm going to say that out loud.
Right.
And I really applaud you and your daughters for the work you do. It's amazing. Thank you for that.
They haven't fired me yet. They're great executive producers. They keep an eye on what we got going on here. Thank you so much, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
And say hello to your daughter, because I was waiting for her guest appearance today. I was even going to call for it, but I didn't know she was, traveling the universe, enjoying herself. But anyhow, thank you so much. I'll see you later, my friend. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
I do want to do this. Please forgive me. I forgot to say this earlier. 3 tips that you can give real quick before we end the show to anyone dealing with trauma, narcissistic abuse. Just anything that you want to say. 3 things that they can keep in mind.
Okay, so one thing is, if you have someone you trust, then open up to that person. Don't try to carry it alone. Yeah. Speak to that person.
Yeah.
Second, for all of us, just be there empathetically, just hold space for that person, whatever that person is going through. And then 3, for all of those who are struggling with narcissistic abuse, please understand that person's behavior is that person's disorder and has absolutely nothing to do with you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it a great deal. We'll see you again, and I look forward to 2022 when we start again for the 3rd season, and we can do our series of shows again like we did on Instagram. We'll just do it now. Here, my camera over here. We'll just do it now on YouTube. We'll be doing shows here. Thank you, my friend.
Looking forward to that.
We'll see you later. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy Spain. We'll see
you later.
And you
take care. Ciao.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.